Question 1. In what way does your media product use, develop or challenge forms and conventions? For my two-media project, I had to create a promotional package for a non-existent horror movie. This included the creation of the trailer, where I took on the roles of costume designer, director and co-editor. My group and I chose psychological horror after watching Psycho as a class. We felt that it was the genre of horror that required least budget and allowed more space for artistic and creative style in the way that we represented key themes we chose. In researching psychological horror, I found mental illness and mental instability to be a key convention, and so I proposed that the group and I focus on a mental illness in particular called dissociative identity disorder. It is a condition commonly stereotyped in the media and known as split personality disorder. Looking into DID, I found other conventions that were associated, including not knowing who you are. I felt this was really interesting because when I looked into case studies of patients diagnosed with the disease, I found that a lot of them would talk about experiences such as looking in the mirror and not recognising the person that's looking back at them, or their friends calling their name down the street but they're not recognising that name. Through the directing and editing roles, I was able to show this convention through two main ways. Firstly, through the scene the trailer ends on, where the unnamed friend calls out the main character's name and she replies with, "Who?" She doesn't recognise the name. Through directing, I was able to make sure she kind of portrayed this in a way that I had pictured when I'd read the case studies. Secondly was through the bathroom mirror scene, where the audience see Eva flicker from black to white in one spot. The costuming I chose for this scene is simple yet effective, as black usually represents evil or darkness, whereas white would contrast that and reflect innocence or purity. The editing in this scene of the flicker almost acts like a battle, which brings me on to my next key convention followed for horror movies. When I was researching into what scared audiences the most about psychological horror, they suggested it was the whole idea of feeling like someone was watching you. The scene where we see an eye looking through a keyhole was a convention our group decided to develop from the Psycho trailer from 1960. When editing this scene, I purposely made it look greyish. Taking out the colour was a reference to Psycho at the same time as matching the colour scheme with the rest of the trailer. In horror movies, bathrooms tend to be bright and disturbingly clean. I made this bathroom dark and not look as clean, as almost a form of prophetic fallacy. The editing, causing the illusion of time going backwards after she took her medicine, indicates that it's too late for Eva, that time has already run out. Darkening the natural shadow in these scenes made them look more sinister and appear scarier to the audiences. This idea was based on audience feedback. The original footage was 3 minutes long and included Eva walking down a corridor as I turned the lights on and off. She walked forward every time the lights were off. I edited it so it was more of a jump cut effect, which is something that our audience asked for. The final scare was inspired by the bathroom scene from The Orphanage. In the scene, the masked child locks the mother in a bathroom and we see like a medium close-up of him holding the key up to a translucent window. Through directing, I was able to assure the positioning of our bathroom window scene was very similar. With both hands held up to the window and limited lighting, I felt that this made an effective final scare.